right
It just seems like this year, right? Technically we're still in January.
now. January already seemed like a year. I
Exactly.
mean,
It's just been
it,
one after the other, after the other, after the other.
right.
Now, being, out of the country, right?
Hmm.
It's kind of hard to get a feel for like the energy of the people at this point, right? So, what's your read on it? Like, how are people reacting to all these
Okay.
back-to-back tragedies?
Yeah. I mean, because I was part of in the experience of the hurricanes. It started off with all these hurricanes.
Hmm.
Um, the hurricanes put people in shock, devastation, because they lost their homes, they lost everything they have. I mean, I'm still repairing myself, and I'm one of
Wow.
the lucky. I have the house. I have a house, but between trees, I have to repair doors,
Wow.
studio doors. I'm still in repair mode.
Wow.
Um, there are so many people, and it went up to Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. The people in the Carolinas still don't have homes. They have nowhere to go. Now, and food's an issue, heat's an issue, um, and getting help, getting assistance. Now, to top it off, in different areas, it was hard to find a place to live. Where do you go? And then let's say you go to an Airbnb, you can only stay so long, and maybe they're your friends, but then you have to leave, and the prices go up. Prices on
Yes.
apartments, prices on homes, because it's scarcity. So
Yeah.
that happened all the way from Florida, Georgia to North Carolina. Now it's happening in California. And there's one thing, they're dealing with shock and the loss of everything that they have, and working
Hmm.
with these people that have shock.
Yeah.
So it's releasing the shock and then, okay, let's create a plan where you can live, where you can go, and then to start over.
Wow. So the thing is, you have the the slow build up, right? Of
Mhm.
one thing after the other. Like I remember I was kind of following certain people from the hurricane, and then there was another one, and then another thing, and then another thing. And like you said, the housing, the prices went up, just scarcity in general. So
Right.
after a while, right? So we're talking what, like back in, was this September, October, right?
We had we had three
Yes.
storms, the spring, and then in the fall. We had two more in the fall. Now, here's another thing,
Yeah.
Tevi. Um, a lot of people wanted to come here for beach time, fun time.
Hmm.
The beaches went in, all the sand went into the stores, into the restaurants, into the gift shops. So some of them were gone. They're gone. They're just
They're
gone.
not reopen,
And
yeah.
shovel out all the sand. And some areas, I mean, I wanted to take off for the holidays. It's like, where can I go? All the places I went, the towns are not there, like
Oh,
Boca
wow.
Grande. We would always go there. And they had to shovel out the sand, and some of the restaurants were gone, and they had to clean out the inns. So, on top of that, people lost their jobs because there was nothing there.
Yes.
So you're talking about job loss, home loss, your business, everything. It's this has been a challenge.
Yeah, it
A
has been. It
It's been
has
a
been.
challenge. So to
So,
keep high,
yeah,
and that's been a challenge to say, okay, um, the beauty of it has been creating a unified community to say, I have things
yeah,
or I have space, I can help you out, right?
yes.
I can help you out. So there's been a lot of that. And I think what people are realizing is not to count just on a government or your insurance company because they've been slow on the make on that. They have not been the greatest assistance in some areas, like North Carolina. So it's what can your community do? So it's building up a community consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my neighbor, or that's, really it's in a way, the devastation is a good thing. What came out of it is how can I help my friend? How can I help my neighbor? How can I help the children? I mean, schools are gone. This is a new
Yeah.
makeover. Schools are gone, you know? And it's all sectors from very low income or no income to very wealthy people. It's affected them,
Yeah.
you know?
So, like the emotional toll, right? The emotional toll starts to build up because you may be prepared to, most people can handle one or two tragedies in a lifetime, right? And in the span of maybe what, 4 or 5 months,
Mhm.
some families have been through multiple tragedies,
Right,
right?
right,
So, and
right.
then more and more people are being affected by certain things. So, the emotional toll, right? How do we navigate that?
Again, the ones that are the strongest needs to help the
Mhm.
ones that are in not the position to get their head straight, to get their mind straight.
Mhm.
They're in shock. So the stronger one, whoever's in that group, has to take over.
I see.
And that's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
I see.
The stronger one handles it. Okay, this is what we need to do
Yeah.
until the other one gets out of shock, right?
Yeah.
Because this process, there was a lot of death. Your
Yeah.
neighbors. I mean, North Carolina is, you know, unfathomable.
Yeah.
I mean, the waters rose up like nothing before. And again, like tornado, we're having tornado hurricanes.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to bring, I guess, awareness to or kind of direct this conversation to is the fact that, like, you remember back in the COVID, early COVID days, and they keep
Mhm.
saying this is a new normal that we're gonna have to get used to. And people didn't really understand what that means until we all got used to a new normal, right? And we're now at the point where this idea that, okay, you overcome something, you get a break, then you get to rebuild, right? And you wait for the next one or whatever. People are barely able to catch a breather because even before the tragedies, things were pretty tough. I mean, inflation, the political climate, it's a lot of stress and tension on a lot of people. Now, we're getting to the point now, it's like disaster is almost like to be expected on a regular basis, right?
I
So,
mm,
you see where I'm going with this?
yes,
Uh, so at some point, I feel like people have to start to, I mean, I get the stronger ones will lead, but on an individual level, maybe there has to be a new level of awareness where people need to learn or figure out how to bring themselves to a certain level where they can navigate these things without losing themselves.
right. Well,
Because I see a lot of people start to lose themselves.
right. Well, okay, let's put some more in the equation
Yeah,
because they need to.
yeah,
I think that's why we're here. They need to. Bringing out more of who you are and your higher self, connecting more on that level.
Yes.
It changes your whole concept.
Yeah.
And even not to expect tragedy, but okay, how are we going to navigate this new world? Because the old world is crumbling and crushing, right?
Mm.
Um, Building has to be entirely different and sensible. Don't build on the bottom of a hill where there could be a mudslide. Makes sense. Um, Clean out the forest for God's sakes. That is, that's been insanity. We have to
Yeah.
look around and say, how do we make this better? How do we make our environment better? How do we make homes that are substantial, that are not going to fall apart when there's a hurricane or there's now tornado fires? Uh, that's a new game.
Yeah.
That's a new one. We've never had that before.
Yeah.
Now, it goes in cycles. You have your cold times and very hot times. That's been cycles since inception. But
Hmm.
right now, we're in a different location in the universe, and we're getting more energy from the sun. Um, and of course, the sun is getting more energy from the central sun.
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking, universally. That is changing our thinking. It is
Yes.
changing our bodies. It is changing the whole makeup of who we are.
Mhm.
And that's where people are finding, in a way, difficulty of catching up to their new physiology because
Yes.
they are, as the earth is changing, it's saying, come on, we're not staying in the third dimension anymore, which we're not.
Hmm.
We're going the fourth and the fifth. So we're changing and the earth is changing. And in
Hmm.
doing that, to keep up, you have to be, you have to really know who you are in your God sense, in your, and and we've talked about that before, the God, what is God? I'd say the creator of all.
Yes.
And we're a fractal of the creator of all.
Yeah.
And really realize that that's what we are. And how do we adjust and be resilient in these changes?
Hmm.
Because the old is leaving in every way you can think of it, financially and how we look at
Yeah.
work, you know,
Yeah,
work,
exactly.
as before it was stay at your desk 24/7 until you die.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like like I was saying, the idea of a new normal. For example, growing up, people had their careers. You pick your job and you drive from that place to like you
Right,
drive from your house to that building. Some people did it for 30 years, right?
right,
And if you're lucky, you take one or two vacations over those 30 years, you
right.
know?
And
And
you were
it and it was, yeah, that was pretty normal. But
right,
then right now, like even personally now traveling, we have a whole new society of nomads and so many countries offering digital nomad visas where these people are literally living on the road, including myself, living on the
right,
road
right,
and making that normal.
right. That's your new normal. It's just like there are people, which I know, that live on a cruise ship. They live going on cruise ships 20, all the time. They might go home, have a little home base and fill up their suitcase a little more,
Yeah.
and then you know, I don't know, pay their bills. Who knows? They can do that online. You don't even have to go home.
Yeah.
And that's their new normal.
Yeah.
People waiting on them, and then they get off the ship and go visit and then get back on the ship and or take a train everywhere, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that is cool. I think that's great because it's not saying we have to follow exactly what others have done.
Hmm.
We're going to go out and explore. And we're not going to say this is us for the rest of our life, sitting at this desk or waiting for the progression of what was taught. You go to school, you get all your
Exactly. The old
you put them
programming.
right, you put them in frames, you put them on the
Yes.
wall, and you exhibit them when people come in, and
Hmm.
and that's their life.
Hmm.
And okay, so now I'm working with people that do not have, they've got all the titles,
Hmm.
but they don't have the jobs now to go with it.
Yeah.
So what I tell them, and because they're like, just like the hurricanes and the fires, they're in shock.
Hmm.
What do I do? I
Yeah.
always ask them, what was on your crib when you were born? What was on your crib? And they go, well, like I'm supposed to know. What was it? What do you think was on it? And they go, let's say if it's a man, baby boy. And I go, perfect. Didn't say anything about being a doctor, an architect, or what did it say? No, baby boy. And I go, good. So you can do anything.
Yeah.
You're a fractal of the creator. You can do anything. But a lot of people are hooked, attached to their title,
Yeah.
what they feel I can't be anything without my title.
Yeah. Well, that's the old programming because we're attached to attachments rule the world. You attach to your house, you attach to your neighborhood, you attach to your job title and all that stuff. But then
You call,
there's almost like a shift happening
yes,
where there are certain people that are just kind of catching the waves at a certain level, understanding that things are changing. The sense of normalcy, the sense of safety that people were used to and were, came to expect in their lives. That sense of normalcy is almost slowly dissolving, right?
yes,
It's just
yes,
not the same anymore. That means that if you emotionally, mentally are not in tune with this shift happening, and you keep looking in one direction, expecting to see the things that you've always seen in that direction, and it's just not appearing the way it was, then all of a sudden people start to freak out, right? That becomes some form of trauma because it's like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong? I've been working hard my whole life. I've
right.
studied. This is the things that I've always done, and I've done it very well. All of a sudden, I'm struggling. What am I doing wrong? Right? Now, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just life is changing.
Well, and that's why resilience is the key right now to flow, and to stay in the moment. Stay right in the moment. Don't worry about the past and do not worry about the future. Stay in the moment.
Yes.
That's another key. A lot of people are trying to run in the past and they're banging on the door and they can't get in because
Yes.
it's gone, right? And they
Yes.
go to the future, but they fall off the cliff because the future hasn't been made yet. But that they're constantly imagining either good or bad. I think it's good to imagine good stuff. That'll because but when you think of in the moment the
Yes.
good thoughts, the positive thoughts, that will affect your future.
Yes.
That will
Yes.
be the seeds for your future.
Yes.
But a lot of people are, and this is another thing that that a lot of people have asked me is that, or stating they're afraid the world is just going to collapse, and so they focus on the collapsing of it, and and you have to take them out of that. No, no,
So,
the old is collapsing, but you're
yes,
bringing new so that they don't
yes,
they're panicking right now because it's different. They're not used to being different. But what is a creator? They're constantly creating, and
that's
that's what we
exactly what I'm trying to say. I feel like, you know, there is a sense of panic brewing because it's kind of like, this before Google, right? It's like this uncle that you used to go to that has the answer to all your questions and maybe had a few bucks for you if you were in trouble and you needed something. And you always would run to this uncle no matter what, just like, oh yeah, uncle, just tell me what to do now. And then one day you go knocking on the door and the uncle is not there anymore.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
sense of panic. It's like, well, the uncle moved and he didn't give you his new address. And here you are knocking on the door and he's not there anymore.
right,
And there is a lot of that happening today. People are going back knocking on doors in places that they are used to finding answers, places they are used to finding comfort, places they are used to finding a sense of security.
right,
And those doors is not answering anymore, right?
right,
So now we have to rethink this whole thing, this sense of safety in life, this security of everything that you're doing, your finances, right? It's not a guarantee anymore. You have an education and training in whatever field, and somehow you'll be financially stable. It's no longer a guarantee. People are getting like having to be creative in ways to maintain, whatever lifestyle or, standards they need to maintain. Then on top of that, you have families, children, expectations, and stuff like that. I just feel like it's like the walls are caving in, putting a lot of pressure on a lot of people. And
mhm,
until you become aware of this paradigm shift, this energy shift that is happening. You keep looking in the directions that you used to, and things are just not clicking like before,
right,
right?
right.
Then it's like, where do we go? What do we do? You know, at what point do we sound the alarm? There's something is wrong. It's like somebody moved my keys and I cannot find it. Where do I go? Right? So this is happening in on an individual level. I feel like people are still keeping it to themselves because it's almost like maybe you did something wrong. Maybe it is just not something that you're not quite getting yet. Right? Maybe you're not trying hard enough. Maybe you're not talking to the right people. Maybe you don't have the right connections. But then at some point, you have to realize something is different. Something has changed. We're not
Right.
going back to the old, we're making our way to a completely different equation. And people need to
Different,
learn that new equation.
yeah, totally different energy field, totally,
Completely different.
completely different. And actually, it's been ongoing for quite a long time. I mean, I saw many changes from the time I grew up till now, that it was changing and keeping up with the changes, keeping up with the motion of the changes.
Yes.
What happened with a lot of people is they didn't want to see it change or feel it change. It's not going to change. If I sit there and resist it, it will go away, and it's
Exactly.
not.
Resist it
And
or
that,
ignore it or
right.
fight your way through it and hopefully you'll win.
And I know a lot of people that were doing very well in the old paradigm, and
Yeah.
now they're not, and they're struggling because they're trying to use the old tools, and they
That's
have to
my
go.
point. That's the point I'm trying to make.
They're using the old tools.
The old tools are not working the way they used to. and they won't for a
Mhm.
long time. And we need to relearn our notion of navigating ourselves through life, or how do you put yourself in position to have a pleasant enough life to stand it, just to be okay with being yourself, because a lot of people are starting to struggle just waking up into their lives.
Again, which we had talked about before about being real. And a lot of people were working in jobs that they really didn't like, but they trudged through it for, let's say, the family, or
Yeah,
they felt they had to. And the new world that we're stepping into is that doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work because you're not happy, they're not happy. And that's why a lot of, you know,
and with this new energy, your energy matters. How you feel about yourself matters. How do you feel about yourself doing what you're doing matters, right?
right.
Because before, someone can choose to just go through the motions for decades, and they do quite well at it. You just go through the motion, you already know what you're doing. Just go through the motion, and the paychecks keep coming in, and you just live your life and save and have your time. And the whole script is written for you, and you're set. It's not working like that anymore, right? You have to be.
Tevi, it's really interesting because, okay, so here's a book. So people ask me to, what's it all going to be like,
Yeah.
And to do as a kid, I would always go and read the last page. I don't know why. I think it was another
Yes.
life we had it going that way. But
Yes.
they always want me to read the last page of their life to see how everything came out.
Yes.
And I go, well, what about all the pages in between,
Exactly.
you know, to enjoy that time, to no matter what it is, it's your life, and to enjoy that page at that time. Enjoy that page at that time. Not worry about the end page if everything was all wonderful and sweet and gorgeous and but
Exactly.
this page. Stay
Yep.
at this page so that you don't lose this moment. And don't worry about that one, the last one.
To be present for every single aspect of your life. Be present for every single stage of your life. Because,
Hmm.
people used to, and I'm pretty sure some people still do, concern themselves with legacy and how they're going to retire, and whatever that dream is whenever they retire. But then it's
Yeah.
like
No, I know that. I know people that, they save all their life for that retirement and all the plans they're going to do. And guess what? They don't make it.
yeah.
They're gone.
So
They
what
never had a
about today, right? Like, it's like, okay, what's your dream? Well, when you go to sleep at night, you dream a dream every single night, right? Nobody ever wakes up and say, you know what, let me skip this dream and I'm gonna wait for the much better dream that's gonna come, whatever day it is that you don't actually know. You just take whatever dream that comes to you every night and you wake up with this. Sometimes you're scared, sometimes you're smiling, sometimes you're confused, but that's just the dream of the day. So every
right.
day you get to live whatever dream that you're dreaming, or whatever your life gives you. But this idea that we can secure a future without being present in this moment.
Right. It is key. That is the key. I recommend with the many that I work with to do a board meeting at night. It doesn't matter what it is, or what you're working on, or even if you're having guests come over for dinner. Whatever it is, it could be the most simplest thing to the most complicated. But have all your guides sit down with you at night and go over, and they will show you different pathways on where to go, what's the best for you, and maybe which I always recommend, is a review. They can do a review whenever they want. They don't have to wait for when they leave
Exactly.
their body for good. I mean, I leave my body a lot, but I do come back. As you're in another realm, right? I blink my eyes,
Okay.
I'm gone. I have to make sure I am paying attention because I'll be going in another realm. And we all do. If we blink our eyes, we're in another realm. So I have to pay attention. So I stay in this conversation.
Yes.
But, I call it a board meeting.
Mhm.
Go in, think about what you would like to accomplish, what you would like to work on,
Mhm.
and then look at the pathways. And you can also do a review. How am I doing?
Yes.
You know, I mean, we have reviews when we're like in first grade and they go, okay, at the end of the year, they give you a report card or something and it shows it to your parents. Of course, it's not really you, but those report cards. But that's another time for that information. But in a way, it's a review or the first of the year, which we're in a new year. A
Exactly.
lot of people go through a physical review of going, okay, I made X, Y, Z, and I did this and I did that, and I wanted to lose weight, I didn't. I wanted to get a better job, I didn't. And they over, uh, you know, mentally work at it, trying to figure out what they want to do for the year. I always recommend do one at your board meeting, a review of your life. It will show you, your guides, and it will actually show you a reel, like a movie of your contractual agreements when you came here. And are you keeping on them? Are you
Yeah.
finishing them? Are you doing them? Because a
Yeah.
lot of people live a life, then they go and leave the body, and they go, okay, now you went over and you're the one that created the contractual agreement, went over your contractual agreement, and I don't see when you did it. You didn't do what you wanted to do. And so that piles up for another life and then
Yes.
another one. And that's why a lot of people are panicking right now because this is a lifetime to eradicate all karma. Do you know what that means? All karma gone.
Yeah.
That's what we are to relinquish in this lifetime. Not to build it up, not to carry it, not to have suitcases for the next life, but to eradicate it and get rid of it because we're going to another dimension and we don't carry
Some people call it the harvest,
that.
and it's happening. Uh, the thing
That makes me.
is, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because every soul on this planet is spoken for, meaning there's something that you're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
Now, paying bills, paying bills, and make sure the car stays shiny. That's like, it sounds like a very important task. But there is a purpose to every single person's life beyond the mundane stuff that we're all chasing after.
Right.
So there was a period of time where people just got okay being distracted from it, managed to build themselves decent lives and just kind of staying distracted and, entertain themselves. But then we're coming to a point where the distractions are not as efficient as they used to be. And the entertainment is not as great quality as it used to be.
Yeah.
So now we're getting to face ourselves,
Yes.
right? So now
Yes.
this game of let's pretend that we don't know, right? Because I believe every single person deep inside they know. When you're off track, when you're not living in alignment with your higher purpose, you know. Just feels different.
Mhm.
most people choose to ignore it. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of, I don't know. They're already content with whatever they have going on, so they just kind of keep going that way. Um, it seems like the juice is getting squeezed out of this whole programming, where it doesn't stick anymore, right? So now we have to face the fact that there is a calling, and you're either answering or you're not. And when you're not answering, it doesn't feel that good. It's like it keeps ringing in your ear over and over and over and over and over, to the point where it's like it's driving you crazy, because it's time to collect. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
Right? So it's interesting. You mentioned guides, your guides, right? A lot of people don't understand that we all have guides. And a lot of people don't know how to attune to their guides. So what can you say on that subject? Because I believe there's a lot of confusion in
Right.
that aspect of things. They think you have to be some kind of spiritual, whatever person to talk about your guides, but every single person has guides. Okay. How do you create that connection so that you can receive what is meant for you to receive?
That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question because a lot of people don't realize that as soon as you're born, you're a baby, you have somebody watching over you, not just your mother and father, but you have a selected guy, angelic being, a divinity, a divine being that watches over you. And some children, now as I remember mine, they would be in different forms.
Yes.
Like it would be a child, to say, oh, don't go over here. Don't touch that stove, you know, all of a sudden would appear as a child, later as an older person. And now it depends. When you start getting in tune, you just have to ask. I want to know my guide. I want to see my angelic beings around me, my divinity beings. They are there. And and they probably already hear them. Like, don't go down Jones Street, go to Smith. And they're hearing it. They may not choose to do it, but they're hearing do in their own sense, in their head, advice. They're getting advice. Hearing maybe videos like this, they could start tuning in. So as far as guides go, people can start either even with their pen. They could start just scribbling and having messages come out, or just acknowledging, yes, I do. Okay, and I want to know more. And
Yeah.
just by saying that, everybody has free will, and the free will is to say either I don't want to know or I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had people that want to know,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, when an angelic person presents themselves to them, they freak out and start screaming. And then
Mm-hmm.
they go, oh my God, I was screaming, Mary, I've waited for this all my life, and it disappeared. And I said, well, just they know. They know you, so they know you are frightened.
They're
It's
not
okay.
going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. They're still staying and they're guiding you. So now, and here's the thing: as you grow and you
Yes.
become more, like I've had all different guides
Mm-hmm.
because of the different missions I've been on, the different work I've been on. So it's you have a collection. I feel there's almost an army around all of us. There's an army around us now
Yes.
as we're talking, because this isn't just a conversation with you and me. This is a conversation with the universe. We are
Exactly.
having universal discussion, and I can feel them all around me. And they will tell me, I never know what I'm going to say with a client, with you, with anyone. They're saying, okay, we want you to say this, or we'd like you to, bring up this subject. I never know.
Yeah.
So we're all here. You can feel them. Sometimes you can feel coldness. You can feel
Yes.
heat. You could be dizzy. And that's another topic we should go over. The more people um, get in tune with their divinity, the changes and what they will feel, and
Definitely.
the changes that they will feel will be. And I had to do it all the way from when I was very little, and it was
Yeah.
very difficult. But now it's easier because the energy is lighter, believe it or
Yeah.
not, than when I was a child. I felt like I needed a machete to get through the
I
street.
see. Yeah.
It was very, very thick, you know. Um, I mean, think of all the wars that have been going on. That creates horrible energy. And now,
Let's make a mental note to go deeper into this subject next time.
yeah, definitely. That's a
Be-
good one.
Yeah, because I personally believe that there's a misconception about it. I don't think people understand that they're not alone. Okay. You're not alone. You've never been alone. There's always been entities around you, watching over you, guiding you, talking to you. Okay. You don't, this doesn't make anybody weird or, like some people label themselves spiritual just because every single person has guides. Okay. Now,
One.
how do you know or not know that you have guides, right? Because sometimes you hear voices in your head and you're like, well, maybe it's just my own fear. And so it's almost like they're afraid to face the fact that there's something out there literally interacting with you that you cannot see.
Right. Now, and again, we can dive into this another time too, but how, because people are getting information, and
Mm-hmm.
there's called channeling. There's all kinds of information out there, and I really tell people be discerning. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a buffet. There's so much information. Take what rings, because we're like music. What feels good to you, what rings true to you.
Yes.
I hear things and I go, "Are you kidding?" I don't think so. It doesn't ring to me, and and no matter who it is, you know, people ask, "Can I question you?" And I said, "You better question everybody. Whatever feels right to you, take
Mm-hmm.
that. The buffet,
Mm-hmm.
right? The buffet of life.
Yeah.
Take what you know, and no, no one is alone. No one is alone. No. I mean, and even when you walk out, that's why I tell everybody to stay, especially in these times that we're going through, to stay in nature because that's our
Mhm.
healing. Stay in
Yes.
nature. And
Yep.
the nature spirits will play with you. They'll interact with you. They'll heal you if they trust you, if you're good to nature.
Absolutely.
You know? But if you're
Absolutely.
not, forget it. They won't be nice to you. They don't want you there.
That's that's a great point. You know, because we take nature for granted. Like it's just trees and grass. You just walk by it every day and drive by it, nobody pays attention. But you just take 5 minutes, go sit on a bench somewhere, and you stare at a tree for 5 minutes. You start to feel something. They have a presence. They're
Oh,
alive, you
they
know?
were my teachers. As a child, they were my teachers. I felt at home.
Yeah.
Nature's it's so alive.
It's so alive, So I guess one thing would be to encourage people to learn slowly, because it's not easy. We live in a noisy world. Learn slowly how to tune out the noise, just lower the volume a little bit, and spend time connecting with nature, right? And kind of just be there. No expectations, whatever's going to be said to you, that's not for anyone to be concerned about. Whatever your messages will come to you. You just have to make enough room, quiet the noise long enough for you to find that center of yours and receive whatever message is meant for you.
Don't take a phone. Don't take any technology, even if it's for a few minutes.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't breathe. It's a very shallow breath. And just breathe in
Mm.
the energies of nature.
Yeah,
Yeah, and clear your mind. Clear your mind.
beautiful.